everyone, my name's Danielle and welcome to another episode of Board Game Bakes. This is a fun show where we make board game themed pieces and components in edible form. We're going to start off 2021 with Herbacious by Pencil First Games. They are kind enough to send me a copy and it is gorgeous. I love all the artwork on all the pieces and it's also really fun to play. It was fun with 2 players and 4 players, so I'm excited to get to play taste it on Friday. So when I got this, I had to go taste like the herbs or look like the herbs, and all the herbs on here are really beautiful and I wasn't sure if I could do all those, so I went the taste route. So I literally made every cookie taste like a different herb. Some of them aren't exactly the same because saffron's a little outside my budget, but they all have a different taste. And then we even went farther, so all the cards are edible. But then we also have all the containers. You have different flower pots for your plants to go in, and those are all made with a rosemary shortbread. So let's get started. Our first step is to prepare our rosemary shortbread cookie. The ingredients are listed below. First, you're going to combine the flour, sugar, salt, and rosemary into the container. Then you want to pulse it a few times to combine. Next, you're going to add in all your butter. You're just going to keep pulsing it, and I just had to pulse it, open it to push it around, pulse it, open to push it around, and you just keep doing that until it's combined to a thick, crummy consistency. Then I dumped it into a bowl and kind of the last bit of forming into a dough. Now I have muffin tins, and I'm just taking handfuls of the dough and lining them, and these are going to be the large pots. When you're going through too, you want to make sure you try and prick it with a fork. I'm not sure it helped me too much, but it must do something. And those are our little pots. Now we're going to continue using our rosemary shortbread to make the planter. Except for this one, I'm going to roll it out and use cookie cutters. Once you have flat, I have a large rectangle. And since I want to play a 2-player game, I need 2 of the big ones. And then I need enough for 2 for each of the long side and 2 short sides. And then for these, it's definitely important to try pricking with the fork so they don't get too big. I noticed that as I was baking them at 350 degrees, that they started swelling up and filling it. So I literally took a measuring spoon and pushed it down. And then here, after I baked the planter pieces, I took a knife and the cookie cutter to make sure that edges were even, because we're going to try and glue them together later with royal icing. I'm using royal icing as a glue to keep them together. And I'm just putting some extra royal icing in the cracks, this way it stays together. And I got a fancy airbrusher for Christmas, so I'm using an airbrusher to dye the outside of the large pot blue, just like the picture. After I did blue, I tried putting a little silver on it, so this way it stood out more. To make all of our herb cookies, we're going to start with a chocolate roulette cookie base. So like usual, you're going to put together all your dry ingredients. So we had salt, cocoa powder, and I think a little baking powder too. And then we're going to cream together our butter and our sugar. Once that's creamed, you go wipe down the edges and add your egg and vanilla and give it a quick mix. And then you're going to add your dry ingredients slowly, mainly so you don't get a big puff everywhere. And it's going to be very crumbly, so if it doesn't seem like it's fully come together, you could also knead it for a little bit when you take it out. It's very thick. Here are all the spices, here are all the herbs I want to use to make my cookies. So I divided it into 8 different ones, since the mint, chives, and thyme don't need as much because they're less cookies. and I wound up not needing all those chunks, so I took some and just put it to the side. So to do these, I literally just took a handful of the herb that you need for that cookie, and I just kneaded it in, and then I rolled it out, and I decided to go at little pentagon shapes. And you can't see it, but behind me on the cookie sheet, I tried to put little symbols with pencil, just so I knew which one's which. And baked in the oven for about 7 minutes at 350. The next step is to outline all of it with white royal icing. And then I filled in the center with a thin royal icing with a color that was as close to the card that it corresponds to that I could get. And instead of filling all piping bags with different royal icings, I just used the back of a spoon. And it was a little messier, but a lot less wasteful than trying to put in piping bags. Plop, plop, plop. I try to make sure that they're at least slightly different shades because there's a few that are green and there's a few that are purple. There's a lot of color overlap with different shades. See? Or green. This is a very pretty shade of blue for the tarragon. And this is much brighter than the mint color, but still pretty blue. And now I went through and I just put the first letter corresponding with each of the cards that they're representing. This way when we were playing I didn't need to reference the cards as much. And to do this I'm just using some thick white royal icing that I used to outline it earlier in the video. So many little cookies. And when you're prepping this, I'd store them in individual bags, because once you put them together, they all smell the same. Thanks for watching this episode of Board Game Bakes. If you liked it, please like it below, and while you're down there, hit subscribe. If you want to see my husband and I play taste this version of Herbaceous, tune in on Friday. And I'm also going to release a bonus video next Tuesday that's going to feature how to make the Herbaceous biscuit that's found in the game. Thanks for watching. Keep playing games and keep them sweet. Bye!